Madam Speaker, on the issue of increasing America's national debt, President Obama is very different than Senator Obama. Senator Barack Obama on the House floor, March 16, 2006, quote, "The fact that we are here today to debate raising America's debt limit is a sign of leadership failure. It's a sign that the U.S. government can't pay its own bills. It's a sign that we now depend on ongoing financial assistance from foreign countries to finance our government's reckless fiscal policies. Over the past 5 years, our federal debt has increased by $3.5 trillion to $8.6 trillion. That is trillion with a T. That is money that we have borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund, borrowed from China and Japan, borrowed from American taxpayers. Numbers that large are sometimes hard to understand. Some people may wonder why they matter. Here's why. This year, the federal government will spend $220 billion on interest." End quote. Senator Obama later explained, quote, "That is more money to pay interest on our debt this year than we will spend on education, homeland security, transportation, and veterans benefits combined." End quote. After talking about Hurricane Katrina, Senator Obama shifted to the debt tax. Quote, "And the cost of our debt is one of the fastest growing expenses in our federal budget. This rising debt is a hidden domestic enemy, robbing our cities and states of critical investments in infrastructure like bridges, ports, and levees, robbing our families and our children of critical investments in education, healthcare reform, robbing our seniors of the retirement health security they've counted on. Every dollar we pay in interest is a dollar that is not going to investment in America's priorities. Instead, interest payments are a significant tax on all Americans, a debt tax that Washington doesn't want to talk about. If Washington were serious about an honest tax relief in this country, we would see an effort to reduce our national debt by returning to responsible fiscal policies." End quote. And Senator Obama finally brought up our debt to unfriendly nations. Quote, "Now, there is nothing wrong with borrowing from foreign countries, but we must remember that the more we depend on foreign nations to lend us money, the more our economic security is tied to the whims of foreign leaders whose interests might not be aligned with ours. Increasing America's debt weakens us domestically and internationally. Leadership means that the buck stops here. Instead, Washington is shifting the burden of bad choices today onto the backs of our children and grandchildren. America has a debt problem and a failure of leadership. Americans deserve better. I therefore intend to oppose the effort to increase America's debt limit." Unquote. Today, our national debt is $18 trillion with a T. Clearly, President Obama has forgotten Senator Obama's words. But the American people remember. And on their behalf, I ask President Obama to decrease our debt by working with Congress to reform our tax code to make it pro-growth and anti-debt. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.